Board.
Oh, board.
Are you ready, Board?
Yes.
Yes.
Mrs. Smith? Okay.
We're gonna do it, stand up and do the pledge.
I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Madison Board of Education for June 18th, 2013. At this time, would everyone stand for the pledge of
Well,
allegiance?
sure, I will, thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Becquerel, roll call, please.
Jacqueline Asbill,
Here.
Jay Fabian,
Here,
Michelle Hayes,
Here.
Rex Ryder,
Here.
Kelly Tromba.
Here.
And Board, if we could have a motion for tonight's agenda.
So moved.
second.
Any comments, questions? Mr. Becquerel?
Jacqueline Asbill,
Yes.
Jay Fabian,
Yes.
Michelle Hayes,
Yes.
Rex Ryder,
Yes.
Kelly Tromba.
Yes.
Vote is 5-0.
At this time, if we could kindly take our electronic devices and turn them off or mute them, would be appreciated. The Madison Board of Education is a meeting with public observation, proper etiquette from the public, including sidebar conversations, verbal outbursts, or any interruptions is not permitted. Board, we have 5 meetings to approve the minutes of. I will start with a motion for May 13th, special meeting 2013.
So moved. I'll second.
And if you have any, I don't think anyone has any questions, so we'll just move rapidly through these. Mr. Becquerel?
Jay Fabian,
Yes.
Michelle Hayes,
Yes.
Rex Ryder,
Yes?
Kelly Tromba,
Abstain.
Jacqueline Asbill.
Yes.
Vote is 4-0-1.
And the special meeting, May 21st, 2013.
So moved.
I'll second.
Mr. Becquerel?
Michelle Hayes,
Yes.
Rex Ryder,
Yes?
Kelly Tromba,
Abstain.
Jacqueline Asbill,
Yes.
Jay Fabian.
Yes.
Vote is 4-0-1.
And the special meeting, May 28th, 2013.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Becquerel?
Rex Ryder,
Yes?
Kelly Tromba,
Abstain.
Jacqueline Asbill,
Yes.
Jay Fabian,
Yes.
Michelle Hayes.
Yes.
Vote is 4-0-1.
Special meeting, May 29th, 2013.
So moved. I'll second.
Mr. Becquerel?
Kelly Tromba,
Abstain.
Jacqueline Asbill,
Yes.
Jay Fabian,
Yes.
Michelle Hayes,
Yes.
Rex Ryder.
Yes.
Vote is 4-0-1.
And I'll make the motion for the regular meeting, May 31st, 2013.
I'll second.
Mr. Becquerel?
Jacqueline Asbill,
Yes.
Jay Fabian,
Abstain.
Michelle Hayes,
Yes.
Rex Ryder,
Yes.
Kelly Tromba.
Yes.
Vote is 4-0-1.
Moving on to item 6, public participation for agenda items only. Does anyone want to speak on the agenda tonight? And moving on to item 7, board member reports. Want to comment how beautiful graduation was? I thought it was very nice.
Graduation was phenomenal.
And great video, Joseph.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, that was pretty nice. I like that. And finally, we're going to move to item 8, reports and recommendations of the treasurer, Mr. Michael Becquerel.
Thank you. Prior to passing out a couple items that I'd like to discuss and talking about the things on the agenda, just a quick reminder, board meeting next Thursday, 7:45 in the morning, for the purposes of passing the final appropriations for the fiscal year 2013, and hopefully to act on an authorizing resolution for refinancing the library bonds. The library board is meeting on the 25th, and Nancy is talking to that board to get the go-ahead, permission to go ahead for this board to go ahead with the refunding. Should they decide that they don't want to do it, I don't know why they would, we won't go ahead with it. But you can expect an authorizing resolution on Thursday morning's meeting. On this agenda is the first of the 2 resolutions needed to renew the permanent improvement levy. This levy was passed a number of years ago. It generates about $175,000 in tax a year. It is used for capital improvements, meaning it cannot be used for salary and benefits. This is the final year of collections. It is a multi-step process to get it on the ballot in November. The first step is to pass the resolution of necessity, which is the resolution that appears on the board agenda tonight. I will take that, should it pass tonight, to the county auditor. They will certify the millage needed to generate the dollars. And then I will bring back a resolution to proceed at the board meeting next week. So the first of the multi-step process is on tonight.
And we'll come back to the financial report after that. I see that's ahead in our agenda.
No, I don't think we need to take anything out of order.
Okay,
We'll just giving you a heads up that that's on there.
okay.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, I thought you were taking questions, but go ahead.
No, do you have a question on that?
Are you moving on to the financial report?
That's the right question.
I can.
Well, on our
I've
agenda.
got something else I was
my
gonna talk
question-
about first.
My question is about this, so,
Fire away.
okay. I just want to make sure that we're on the same page. This is the 1 mil that we put up to maintain our bus fleet, correct?
Yes.
That we use to make sure that we have, the capital necessary to replace buses and maintain them so that we don't have breakdowns or at least we have
It's imports.
minimize breakdowns and whatnot. Do we know how much this is per $100,000 of
$13.99
per year?
per year.
Okay, that's it.
To clarify though, this doesn't pay for bus parts.
We do pay bus parts out of it, yes.
I didn't know that we paid for bus parts. I thought that CBS paid for bus parts.
CBS does pay for bus parts, but what we do is part of their contract, the $1.5 million, we redirect some of the dollars that would normally be paid for out of the general fund and pay for it out of the permanent improvement fund. No more dollars go to CBS as a result of bus parts being purchased, just less general fund dollars are being used to pay CBS. It's a combination of general fund dollars and permanent improvement levy dollars that pay CBS.
So the
PI levy dollars for bus parts, the rest is general fund dollars.
Get more money in general fund.
And that money's not, the money that's not coming from the bond issue to CBS, it's going to the general fund. And the general fund money is what pays CBS. Is that correct?
The check is written out of the general fund to pay CBS. And then as they
Right.
report to us how much bus parts they used,
Yeah. There you go.
we then reclassify expenses to the PI levy as opposed to out of the general fund. We don't write CBS an additional check. We don't,
Or write them a check, period, from that. account.
correct. Have I lost you?
Totally.
Okay, we write CBS a check based on 1/24 of their contract. And then once a month, once every other month, they send us all the invoices for parts. Doesn't cost us any more money. All I do is say, okay, I've got a legitimate expenditure that I can classify in the permanent improvement levy related to buses. So I then take and reduce my general fund expenditure by, say the bus parts are $5,000, by $5,000 and charge the capital improvement fund. No more money flows out to CBS. Just instead of general fund paying for all of the costs associated with CBS, $5,000 of that cost is actually for bus parts. We can say it's for bus parts because they spent $5,000 on it. So I'm able to reclassify $5,000 of parts.
So
To
are
the
we
capital.
basically refunding them what they pay on
Nope.
bus parts?
No. I'm taking what I spent out of the general fund to CBS. CBS has gotten their money, they don't get any more. Saying, okay, I paid them $5,000 for services. Now $5,000, I can say, part of that $5,000 was actually for parts. In the whole big picture of what we paid them, last month they spent $5,000 on parts. I can save the general fund a $5,000 expenditure by reclassifying it out of the PI levy.
Okay.
It's an internal.
It's nothing more than a bookkeeping entry
Right.
to relieve the general fund of an expenditure and charging a different fund for an expense that qualifies out of that fund.
In our contract with CBS, bus parts aren't free to the district. The cost of them, of what they projected to spend in parts for the buses over the life of the contract, is built into their cost of what they charge us for that contract. So what he's doing is backing that out of the proper fund, because bus parts should come out of the bus PI. because a certain percentage or portion of the contract is actually parts, not service. He's just reclassifying it to where it actually truly should be.
But if they truly spend zero money on bus parts in a year, I don't take anything out of the PI levy, because they've spent nothing on bus
Right.
parts. So I have no legitimate expenditures to reclassify. It's a monthly entry I make based on a pack of invoices they give me.
Okay. Okay.
She'll be up to seal anyway.
And that's
Yeah.
fine. That's fine.
Friday.
I keep a little pack of
That's
every.
your off day.
Friday is my off day, you're
That's-
absolutely right.
That's fine, and I'll show you what we do.
Okay.
Okay.
See that?
But it does
They're
not
too
involve
long.
writing CBS a check, or in any way increasing their contract amount.
Okay.
Okay, back to Jacqueline's question. When you said, you're saying, from here you send it up to the auditor to have it classified and how much the millage is gonna be. And then you just got there saying it's gonna be $13.99 per thousand.
Mhm.
Isn't he gonna tell us what that's gonna be?
It's gonna show up on the ballot at 1.0 mils.
Correct.
And the effective millage is
Yeah, 65,
.4565.
okay, out of that, okay.
That's
Yes, gotcha.
that's what determines what the cost of a
Yes.
homeowner is the effective millage.
Right. So he'll not redetermine that, or that's already been determined for this coming year?
On renewal of a PI levy,
Yes.
it's kind of a,
It's gonna be close. I
It's-
know that's
it's
gonna
kind
be
of a
close.
going through the
I
motions.
just didn't want her to go out and quote $13.99 when it's $13.95 per thousand. Follow me? I'm a little,
based on the fact that it's June and this won't get updated till December,
yeah,
I'm willing to bet it's gonna come back at $13.99.
okay, good, okay.
Okay, just for clarification, I will hold off, I won't put anything in writing anywhere saying $13.99, because we don't wanna have more than one number up there, so
You'll
I
know
will wait to
Thursday for
hear,
sure.
Yeah.
I'll wait till Thursday.
13, give or take.
But
That's-
also for our taxpayers that are watching this, it's important for them to know this is something that they already pay.
Yes,
And renewal.
it's a renewal, it's not a tax increase, and it doesn't go to salary and benefits.
Right. And
For
for my
us, for
benefit,
anybody.
Mike, where are you on the agenda, just so I know?
I'm still in the reports and recommendations of the
Okay.
treasurer.
All right.
I just crossed the line of the, going to the tax levy, because I
Explanation.
talked
You were
about it
explaining
last
it.
time.
Went down below, now
You're
you're
right,
coming back,
Angela, you
right?
should have talked about it.
No, you
Okay, I have two other things prior to getting to what I have on the
Okay.
agenda.
That's all I wanted to know. If you said the word prior, I would've.
Okay. The first page is something that is based on something that the Plain Dealer put out. I was a little surprised at this, actually. When people think of real estate taxes on their home, they think everything's going to the schools. In Madison, less than half of your real estate tax bill goes to the Madison local schools. There are two districts in Lake County where that is true, us and Perry. Our percentages, and I use Madison Township because that's the larger of the two municipalities that we deal with. Our percentage is 49.3. I would have, if somebody had come up, I would have said it's between 55 and 60%. So I was actually shocked. That is the lower of the two graphs, the percent. As you can see, Painesville City is the highest at 70.5. The upper graph is what does it cost, what portion of the tax bill, or dollars per 100,000 does a school district get? And that's directly tied to the effective millage of a school district. We're the third lowest in Lake County, therefore, the tax dollars we get per $100,000 of value is the third lowest. We get $1,049, and that includes the debt service for the new buildings. Riverside is just below at $1,014, and Perry is the lowest at $787. They're the lowest because they have a nuclear power plant in their backyard. Fairport Harbor is the highest at $1,597 per $100,000. So, as you can see, there's quite a range in the Lake County schools of not only percent of the tax bill, but how many dollars each homeowner is paying towards their school. So that's that graph. The next two pages have to do with special education funding for schools, and it's called catastrophic cost reimbursement. And this is one of those areas where the state actually tried to do something right and for a few years was doing it right, and then now is failing miserably. They recognize that certain special ed students cost more than typical students, non-special ed students. So they came up with a formula that for most classifications over $27,000, they would split the cost with the district and reimburse the district based on a pre-approved formula. And for category 6 is autistic. If you spend over almost $33,000 per student, there would be some reimbursement back to the district. Again, they used to do a good job with it. Then they decided to cut the funding in the line item and never increase it for the ever-increasing cost of special ed. This year we filed on 27 kids. 27 kids cost us almost $1.6 million. We have 3,000, what kids in this district? Maybe
About
right-
3,100.
About 3,100, and we have an operating budget of 24 million. We have 27 kids that cost us $1,600. Very disproportionate. That's an average of $58,000 per kid. I used to give a little speech at Notre Dame for teaching one of the classes, and I started out by saying special education is gonna bankrupt public school in Ohio. Not that those kids don't deserve an education, I just think the legislature needs to fix the funding. That's my purpose. So, 1.6 million spent, the amount over the threshold, meaning we already spend and are accountable for the first 27 or 32,000. There's $750,000 we are spending over the threshold. We should have gotten $567,000 back from the state, well over $500,000. The state gave us $114,000. They don't say they're gonna reduce it, they just do it, because they underfund the line item. The state shorted this district $452,000, and there's nothing we can do
And
about it.
this is, we're just finding this out, or are you just basically saying this has been going on and you want us to be aware of it, or?
Yeah, I remember this from last year.
Yeah, this is something that we know about and we plan for now. The first year it happened, I wasn't at this district, and it was sickening. They went from 100% reimbursement down to 19%, and those are big dollars. Now I planned for 19%. We got less than that, but we did a better job capturing cost. One of these years, you're gonna hear about me sending an invoice to the state for $450,000. I don't really wanna do it this year. We need the help. So 75% should have been reimbursed, 15% was. So in a nutshell, the taxpayers of Madison paid about $54,000 for each one of those kids. Well, we should have paid a little over 37,000.
And what do we pay for a typical student? Is it 9,000?
Our overall is about 9, but you gotta remember.
But that includes those kids, right?
It includes those.
So it's actually less than that,
Yes.
but by how much, we don't know,
Yes.
say around 9,000.
So it could be closer to 8. So it really distorts the cost of educating a typical student. Again, I'm not saying special ed kids don't deserve an education, that's not the point. My point is we are expected to educate all kids, and the funding they say is there, but they don't follow through. Okay, now the good news. The final graph shows how we've done a better job in the last 4 years of applying for those reimbursements, even though they aren't giving us everything we've asked for. 2009, we got $9,700. 2010, we got $24,000. Last year, we received $61,000. This year, $114,000. I'm not gonna take all the credit. I'm not gonna take any of the credit.
Katie.
It has to do with a bunch of people working hard all year long. From the first day we spend the first dollar on a kid to the last day we finalize all the reports. We're tracking kids better than we ever have. We're tracking expenses better than we ever have. We're understanding that there is a system in place to get at least a partial reimbursement, and we're gonna dig for every last dollar until the deadline, and that's what we do. So there's a whole group of people in this building that work awfully hard all year long to make this happen. So I just want the taxpayers to know that we keep digging for every dollar that we can, and we really should have gotten $450,000 more than we did. Yes.
Since someone may have walked in here that works with the media, could you go over the renewal again?
Sure. Caitlin?
Yeah.
Good, I wanna talk to you about something else
Good.
afterwards too. We have the first of our two
Trying to
resolutions
sneak
on
in.
for the PI levy renewal. It's a levy that can be used, it cannot be used for salaries and benefits. It's for capital improvements, and in this district, we use it for buses and bus parts and other capital improvements. Right now, it's estimated to cost taxpayers less than $14 a month, or a year, less than $14 a year
Per thousand.
per $100,000 value in a house. It's a renewal, it will not increase taxes. First resolution is tonight. The second resolution is scheduled to be on the board agenda next Thursday morning. Is that good enough?
Thank you.
Okay.
I asked her, don't ask me, I guess ask her. Yeah.
Is that good enough?
That's good. I'll follow up with you after
Okay.
the meeting too. Thank you.
So on to my lengthy agenda item. We have to approve the financial report as of May 31st, 2013, and the payment of bills for May 2013.
So moved.
Motion, thank you. Second?
I'll second.
Any more comments, questions, discussion? Mr. Beckerell?
Jay Fabian,
Yes,
Michelle Hayes,
Yes.
Rex Ryder,
Yes?
Kelly Tromba,
Yes.
Jacqueline Asbill,
Yes.
vote is 5-0. And that's all I have. I think that's enough.
Thank you, and I need to pass this over to Mike. So now we're moving on to item 9, reports to the administrative team.
well, it's just,
Yes.
just one additional thing. The tax duplicates just came out, to all the taxpayers of,
Well, that's
And-
item 10.
pardon?
I think we're gonna talk about item 10, the tax levy.
Yeah, but this has to do with the county tax duplicate that comes out. Just want people to know that there's a double asterisk behind the listing of all the individual communities. Madison's always at the top, and they did not on this particular tax duplicate, for whatever reason, didn't, the doubled star that's on there was not indicated what it means, but that means that we are not the highest taxes, just as this just shows out.
What's
proves
the
out.
comment on this?
Right, this,
Okay.
this,
I
yeah.
wonder where you're going, because I.
Right, this is, this proves that Madison is not the highest tax district. The point was, is they go from east to west when they list all those names on there. And in the past, they have titled that and said, this is not in order of, the highest taxes to the lowest, this is from east to west, or something like that. I don't remember what they said, but I just want people to understand that.
Okay, I guess it's out there now.
Okay, thank you.
Mrs. Smith?
Okay, well, I've got several things in our report tonight. First, I just want to congratulate Pat Smith. He's off to a great start and his team for the move. They cleaned out that middle school, I think, in record time last
Oh,
week.
yes.
Approximately, I think, 3 days. Everything is boxed up on the trailers, and the trailers are now loaded and sitting in the bus parking area, waiting to move into the brand-new middle school. He really did a great job, and so did all our staff who worked on that. Initial data is starting to come in. It's all raw data from the state tests. So it's not been finalized yet with kids that were under the testing window, that were here less than what used to be called 120 days. But raw indicators, we have gotten 22 out of the 24 testing indicators, which would make us an A on the new report card. It's still too early to, so I don't wanna go into which ones we're missing yet, but, I was very pleased overall. We will likely end up with a B on graduation rate on the new report card, and I can comfortably say that because that's based on last year's data, and we're at 92-point-some%, and 93 is an A. But it is an improvement over the previous years. The other indicators, which are all those opportunity gap closings and all of those things, we won't know that until all the data's been submitted to the state, and they then work their magic. Which leads me to the next item on my report, that if you haven't seen the Plain Dealer this week, starting with Sunday, go online and read the series on value added. It really is trying to provide a comprehensive look at what value-added data is, how it's being used in teacher evaluation, how it's being used in making decisions about teaching and learning and who's a good teacher. But it's very comprehensive, and you can look at some schools that have had 2 years of data attached to teachers, and it will show if they're effective or ineffective. For example, I looked on Sunday because I was curious. Akron Public Schools, which I'm sure has more than 2 years of data on teachers, only had 1 teacher in the report. And part of that is, were they teaching the same grade level? A lot of times when you're laying off and you're moving people around, like Akron has, maybe they only had 1 teacher that had the same assignment, same building for the 2 years to collect the data.
How sad is that?
But yet, I thought, 1 person? Because they said there were over 16,000 teachers in the database, and they only reported out on about 4,200. But it was a 3-day series that concluded today, and it does open up your eyes, and it does not define how value added is calculated. Even the Matt Cohen in the article said, they don't know the exact formula. That is a proprietary right of where they send the data to. So.
Wow.
In your reading of what you've read so far, has the reporting been accurate from what you're,
From all my experience with value added, I mean, the facts are there. They were the same facts that were presented when value added first rolled out back in about 2006. The only thing that's different between 2006 and 2013 is in my very first meeting, they said this would never be used to evaluate teachers. Now it's a key component of evaluating teachers.
So I just want to make sure I understand. The actual formula that they are using to determine whether a teacher is effective or whatever
Right.
is proprietary, it's a secret?
Yeah.
So teachers don't actually know exactly what they need to do to be successful because that's a secret, but they're accountable to it. I just want to make sure I understand.
That's basically what the article said.
well,
And it's what they told
but on
me
the
6 years
flip flop though, we all know that people manipulate the way they do things so that they can look better or smell better or test better. So, the reason they keep it a proprietary type of thing is so that people aren't playing games.
I don't know.
I know,
Point.
we've never known anybody
That's
to.
an opinion.
No, well, we know of some school districts that on graduation, things, they were way off, okay? Just so that they could look good.
There's
So
some schools in Columbus are off on
Well,
attendance, but.
I
that's my point, Rex, that's
But
exactly.
That has nothing to do with
But
proprietary.
this
Yeah,
is
it does.
all related to, once those scores get reported to the state, then they're linked by student. So a student also has trend data that you can see
Mhm.
and look at, is if they're on track and how much growth they've made. We get that data back and, it's supposed to tell us if we're being effective with kids. But you don't know which questions are used to measure it on the test.
Right.
I mean, so it's a blind target, it really is. Most of the teachers, actually, in their series, they had 5 criteria. Next year, it'll go to 4 in the teacher evaluation system. But basically, most teachers fell in the average range. Sort of a bell curve, not a perfect bell curve, but if you look at the graph that's online, it is somewhat like a bell curve. So,
Does every school system have value-added growth?
yes, every school system that gives the state assessments. Catholic schools or private schools give OGTs, but they don't have to give the OAAs, so they don't get value-added data. But yes, and so more and more, and next year, all our teachers will be part of that linkage. So, and again, we'll probably have teachers with all the movement and changes of grade level. I'm not sure how that's all gonna look once they've been linked for the next year. So.
I find it that Akron has 16,000 teachers. Is that
No,
right?
there were 16,000 teachers in the pool of
Oh.
value-added statewide. They have
Oh, okay.
probably 3 or 4. I mean, they're not as big as Cleveland. but
3
they're
or
one of the
4.
big 1,000, or maybe.
And only one
Philmont
teacher
has
taught
been-
the same grade.
Yeah, or had enough to link that many kids in value-added data. I mean, that's how I interpreted it. I could be way
Okay.
off.
All right.
But just wanted to, inform you of that series because it kind of ties to this whole thing with accountability in the state report card. I do want to let you know that we are, for the first time in a couple of years, but we've had some vacancies that we've had to fill, so we are interviewing for special education positions. We will be doing some phone interviews with Roger over the phone, and because of timelines, and we've got some very good candidates that we're looking at, and those people need to get out of contracts, you probably will see a couple candidates on the 27th agenda. You know, nothing for certain, for sure, but we're hoping to wrap up that process because we don't want to lose some good candidates because we've missed that July 10th deadline. The end of the year, I just do want to say that the graduation video also I thought was wonderful. The whole graduation was very nicely done. Also, the end of the year activities was nice, wonderful for the middle school honors breakfast, but it'll even be nicer in our own cafeteria at the new middle school next year. We're really excited about that, and I think the kitchen ladies are really excited about that, not having to move the food to another location. But it'll be very nice to have many events in that new middle school. We're gonna do the spelling bee there. We met with the elementary principals, and it makes sense to do the spelling bee there versus moving them, you know, having them come across to the high school, and we've got a nice venue with good sound system and all of those kinds of things. Another thing that's been going on is we talked about getting that third grade guarantee literacy, early literacy grant, and I've been meeting with Javette from the ESC and our Madison Public Library staff, and we're going to do things within the grant, but we're also going to expand them at nominal cost to us to include the K-5 community. A little bit about the grant. It's based on STEM, which is the science, engineering, and math concepts, and so the kids are gonna have a tutoring program at the building. We're gonna transport to the library where they're gonna do some activities related to STEM and learn about nonfiction, and one of the big units is robotics. So hopefully we're gonna be able to take those kids when our kids compete in the BattleBots competition in the spring, and then we're gonna expand how you do that wonderful summer reading program. We're gonna do a school year reading program just for our Madison kids and have them accumulate points and incentives and those kinds of things. So we're really excited about it. The library has been a wonderful partner, and hopefully too, as an offshoot, another way to use the new buildings and being right there with that whole community connection is having some school kids come and help these kids as a part of the program, or even doing some things at the middle school. So it's very exciting. And just quickly, the end of the year, even though school's out, we've got a lot of different little activities going on. During the month of June, we've been doing some OGT tutoring. We have had our English language learners camp. That was great. I was over there for something today, and I saw, 22 kids. They were working with a couple of different tutors, and they were going to the library and participating in the summer reading, and they've gone on some field trips. And this is to help them continue to build their fluency, because we know that many of those students go home over the summer and they don't get any English language spoken at all. So it's a way to help build and reinforce those skills that have been taught all school year in a more concentrated way, so that they don't lose ground come school in the fall. So that has been very well received, and we've used title funds to do that. And one last item, state budget has not been adopted yet. It'll go down probably to him next week, and he may know something, he may not. But they are in conference where they're bringing the legislature and the Senate together, so things have been pretty quiet, because I guess a lot of that's going on behind closed doors. But by the time I get back from vacation, we'll have a state budget, I guess.
I predict when they want to go on vacation, that's when our state budget will be done. June 30th, midnight. That's how it usually works.
And that concludes my report, unless anybody has
Thank
any
you,
questions.
Mrs. Smith. You guys are our central office of the Big Four.
What, one thing I wanted to mention, you were talking about the use of the new building and stuff, and Rex and I participated with the 120th Madison High School alumni.
We've been to all those
get-together.
meetings?
Not all of them. I've been to them. I don't know,
I know.
I agree. Tell him how not nice this is. But at any rate, what our suggestion was is that possibly use the middle school's cafeteria for the Alumni Association meeting next year on May 31st. Okay, so mark that down, May
And-
31st and the next
And in
year.
our defense, the decade of the 1960s had the most representatives.
That's right, that's right. You're way older than I am, so.
66 and
He's way
68,
older than I
yeah.
am, so.
Well, we could have that LED lighting going, it changes the colors, and it'll all fit, right?
For him, that's before my time.
I do have one more thing in my report. Later on in the agenda, you're gonna see the approval of the VLA contract. And, I just wanna say, as a part of that contract this year, we have to give next year, for 1 year only, until they give us the new tests, history and government exams. And so we felt, I met with the history department and, the high school administration, that doing an online history and government exam will give us a little more data, how our system will support online testing kids all at one time. And plus it takes, pressure off of them than to have to make a test for 1 year that, have to incorporate all the changes that they, into the curriculum, so. That is also part of the VLA contract. I think that's covered my requirement to tell you, because you don't have to have a resolution, but it has to be adopted, and it's part of that contract.
And in all fairness, I'll throw a kudo to Jay that his son was in the News Herald area records for the 4x800
That's right.
meter relay
Yeah.
for all 3 counties.
Yep.
So that's a great
Kudos to
accomplishment.
those kids, they had an outstanding race that they ran.
So I know you're proud of your track.
Absolutely.
Did that make up for it then?
You're doing better. You haven't made it yet.
Mom's here now. Gotta be careful.
I want Jay to remember that.
Oh, I remembered it.
Stood up for
Oh,
him.
All right.
Noted.
All right, Mrs. Smith, we're going to
All right.
resolutions. Item 10.
Item 10 is resolution to renew existing tax levy. This is a resolution declaring its necessity to renew an existing 1.0 mil tax levy for the purpose of general permanent improvements, and requesting the Lake County auditor to certify the total current tax valuation of the school district and the dollar amount of revenue that would be generated by that renewal levy. I'm gonna skip over the whereas, but section 1, the board finds, determines, and declares that it's necessary to renew for 5 years an existing 1 mil ad valorem property tax outside of the 10 mil limitation for the purpose of general permanent improvements, and that it intends to submit the question of renewal and that of the levy to the electors on the November 5th, 2013 election. Section 2, the board requests the Lake County auditors certify to it both the total current tax valuation of the school district and the dollar amount of revenue that would be generated by the renewal levy specified in section 1. Section 3, the treasurer of this board is authorized and directed to deliver promptly to the Lake County auditor a certified copy of the resolution. Section 4, the board finds and determines that all formal actions of this board and of any of its committees concerning and relating to the adoption of this resolution were taken, and that all deliberations of this board and any of its committees that resulted in those formal actions were held in meetings open to the public and in compliance with the law. And section 5, the resolution shall be in full force and effect from and immediately upon its adoption.
So moved.
Second.
And our next stage of this will be on what day, Mike?
Thursday, June 27th, 7:45 in the morning.
So the public will know they can attend at 7:45 a.m.
Yes.
They want to see the second reading.
Just comments about the levy. Again, the importance of it is that it's so important to have this type of money to be able to be set aside for our new buses. So often, when lots of school districts get in trouble with finances and stuff, it's kind of like, do you cut this or you cut that? You cut buses or you cut here, in our case, we don't have to cut buses because it's in its own separate levy. And it's so nice to have that. It's been one of the best things that Madison has been able to do. Most school districts do not have a separate, levy like this. So it's very important that we get this passed. And
Any other township that's 8 square miles, it's good to have a well-oiled fleet. So, we have a motion, we have a second. Any other comments? Mr. Becquerel?
Michelle Hayes,
Yes.
Rex Ryder,
Yes?
Kelly Tromba,
Yes.
Jacqueline Asbill,
Yes.
Jay Fabian.
Yes.
Vote is 5-0.
Mrs. Smith?
Okay. Got several things in the recommendations tonight. The first is our standard personnel motion. We're asking you to accept the following resignations. The resignation of Bryn Ryan, intervention specialist at Madison High School, effective the end of the 2012-13 contract year. The resignation of Bryn Ryan as Madison High School head volleyball coach, effective June 4th, 2013. To accept the resignation of Jackie Farina as Madison High School volleyball coach, effective June 4th, 2013. We are recalling one of our custodians, to Diana Miller, as a custodian effective July 1st, 2013. We are asking you to approve the following employment contract, and once we get through the motion, I will introduce him further. Norm Potter, under a one-year limited contract as an intervention specialist at Madison High School, effective August 23rd, 2013, for the 2013-14 contract year, at a rate of compensation of MA Step 6, and fringe benefits as approved by the board. And then we're asking you to approve the following classification moves. Don Hawkins from head night custodian at Madison High School to night custodian at pre-K and the middle school, effective July 1st, 2013. And to move Tracy Powell from night custodian at Madison High School to head night custodian at Madison High School, effective July 1st, 2013.
So moved.
Second.
Second. Any comments, questions, discussion?
Welcome aboard to Norm Potter.
You want to introduce Norm at
Yes,
this
I
time?
would like to introduce Norm.
We should vote
Probably.
first.
Okay.
Sorry, premature.
Premature introduction.
We're excited.
All right, any other comments? Sorry. All right, Mr. Becquerel?
Rex Reiger.
Yes?
Kelly Tromba.
Yes.
Jacqueline Asbill,
Yes.
Jay Fabian.
Yes.
Michelle Hayes.
Yes.
Vote is 5-0.
Welcome aboard Norm Potter.
Very excited to have Norm Potter. He has an extensive teaching background from many different places. Came back to the Ohio area where he was born and raised, and was looking to, find a home where he wants to finish his career here, and I think Madison is the place, and we're very happy to have you here, Norm.
Good to be here.
Okay, Coach.
I won't say I coached Norm in Little League.
All
And
right.
nothing influenced his job here, that's for sure.
All right, well, and
No,
Norm,
but we're-
now that you have been officially hired, you are free to go if you don't need to sit through any more board meetings.
I'll take that advice.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Just drop that paper off so we can get you an email.
Okay, thank you.
Part B is to approve the bus routes and bus stops for student transportation services for the 2013-2014 school year, as found on file in the board office.
Motion?
So moved.
I'll second it. Comments, questions, discussion?
I would like to just say that it's been a very good process working with the administration, Kim in transportation with CBS, coordinating all the details of these routes. I think we're ready. The elementary routes, I think, were the easiest, believe it or not, with the going north and south. We're gonna have, a couple challenges the first couple days of school at the high school, because the traffic flow is gonna change, and we're gonna communicate that in a variety of way to parents, because buses are gonna come in around the same times as students, so we're trying to do the same thing we're doing in all the buildings. There'll be a bus drop-off and a parent-student, drop-off area, just like in all the buildings, so we'll have that pattern going in all our schools next year, which I think will be great.
When you guys developed these bus routes, and I know that, there's a lot on your plate trying to get it together for, the differences in schools and routes. Did we take a look at children crossing the road?
We did the
Are
best
there-
we could. There are gonna be a few, because you're not gonna get rid of all of them, but we looked and we took into consideration many of them. And so she did try to eliminate where she could and where it made the most sense.
All right, I just want to make sure, not only for the safety of our children,
Right.
which is the first and foremost consideration, but also, if you guys recall, when we had the first, when we were negotiating this contract, we had the opportunity to pay less and have children crossing the street, and we opted not to do that. We opted to pay more so they wouldn't cross the street. So, I personally, as a board member, expect expect to hold them to that, and if we are paying for level of service, we should be getting it. And if they are not able to provide it, then one, I'm concerned about young children crossing roads like 528 and those sorts of things.
We did
And,
the best to eliminate those.
Yeah, you
And,
can't
and
do that
secondly,
without
I
them.
really, I don't feel like we should,
Kids along.
you know, I feel like the level of service shouldn't be different than it was when they
Oh, no,
first started,
it's
and what we agreed to, because we did agree to pay more for that level of service. So,
All right,
Well,
anybody else?
and it's also,
I
however, to go along with what you're saying, it is still up to the final say of the superintendent of approving it. And we're kind of approving it too, but he has the say to say yes or no.
I know, just, he wasn't here when we were negotiating that contract. and-
Yes.
And they said, we can save you money doing this, and we said, no, we'll pay
Like
more
road
money,
pickup, we were against that
you know,
also.
door to door for
Actually, in
the younger
fact-
The
kids,
door to door,
and
yeah.
no
Middle
crossing the street
school-
for the kids, so.
High school will be using middle school stops, so there won't be corner stops even next year for high school, so the level of service actually
Well,
will improve.
yeah.
Oh, that's
Regarding the elementary students, is it safe to assume that the bus stops themselves did not change? I understand that the bus
No,
routes
bus stops.
changing, but the stops themselves are staying the same?
Because we're pretty much door to door, so.
Okay.
It's all good. Anyone else? Mr. Vaccarello?
Kelly Tromba,
Yes.
Jacqueline Aspel,
Yes,
Jay Fabian.
Yes.
Michelle Hayes.
Yes.
Rex Ryder.
Yes?
Vote is 5-0.
The next item on, the recommendations tonight is to authorize the board to publicly advertise for bids for both of kindergarten playground equipment at the North Elementary School.
So moved.
I'll second.
Comments, questions, discussion? If you've gone by the Northern Elementary, I'll say it's a beehive down there, that's for sure, between storm sewers and our
Sewer line,
construction
yeah.
So
and
that,
moving.
so that we can put to rest any of the rumors out there, we are covering this. We are not requesting that
Correct.
the
Correct.
PTAs
No,
or the
no,
PFCs
no.
or any of that
We are
That's
covering
us.
that.
pay for that.
No, yeah, we are
There was a
covering.
rumor. Is there a rumor on that?
Oh, yeah.
No, it is
That's a lot of
fully
loot.
covered.
All right, anybody else?
Public record.
Huh?
It's good to put it on public
Yes.
record.
Mr. Vaccarello?
Jacqueline Aspel,
Yes?
Jay Fabian.
Yes.
Michelle Hayes.
Yes.
Rex Ryder.
Yes?
Kelly Tromba.
Yes.
Vote is 5-0.
Okay, and the last item under the recommendations is to authorize the board to participate in the State of Ohio Cooperative Purchasing Program through the Department of Administrative Services and to pay the annual fee of $100.
Motion, I'll make a motion for that.
A second.
I'll say it's a great program for Pat Smith.
Mhm.
Anyone else?
Absolutely.
We really save tons of money with this program. Well worth $100. Mr. Vaccarello?
Jay Fabian.
Yes.
Michelle Hayes.
Yes.
Rex Ryder.
Yes?
Kelly Tromba.
Yes.
Jacqueline Aspel.
Yes?
Vote is 5-0.
Board policy updates.
At the last meeting, we brought the first reading of the following policy updates: evaluation of principals and other administrators, religion in the curriculum, interscholastic athletics, third grade reading guarantee, reduction in staff, standards-based teacher evaluation, safe operation of motorized utility vehicles by students, positive behavior intervention and supports, and limited use of restraint and seclusion, grant funds, purchases, travel payments, and reimbursement. And we're asking for the board to adopt those tonight.
I have a question about one of them. The interscholastic athletics, 2431. There's some verbiage that has been taken out that restricts a superintendent's authority to determine if a student should be able to participate. And I'm usually, when we make these changes, we do it to comply with, legal changes. So maybe there's been a legal change or something like that. But usually, as a board in the past, we've always tried to leave as much latitude as we think a superintendent will need to make decisions on a case-by-case basis should it need to. And we're restricting that with this policy. And I just want to make sure that we all understand that we're restricting it and we're all okay with that. because basically
bottom of page
what we're
207.
doing is,
What page are you on?
207? Yep, 207.
yes, I am at page 207. And basically what we're looking at here is eligibility. And in the past, we have determined to have the eligibility be, requirements be as low as possible because, you know, studies have shown that students who are struggling academically or struggling socially actually make greater strides in school academically and with their peers if they are connected to the school. They have lower dropout rates, they have lower drug use, they have a lower chance of getting into trouble criminally, all of those things, if they are ingrained in the school some way, whether it be club or student council or sport or whatever. And so we've always had a policy that if a student has below the required grade point average, but is on a plan and is making strides and is following through with everything that student is supposed to do according to their improvement plan, that the superintendent had the right to say, okay, because, you know, maybe you went through a rough time, but you're doing everything you're supposed to do, the superintendent had a right to waive that and let the student
Right.
participate if the superintendent felt like that was in the best interest of the child to be successful, and we're taking that away, and I just wanna make sure we all know that we're taking it away.
Well,
I'm not sure why we
gonna
are.
have to- Yeah, I'm gonna, we could table this
Why don't we do that?
and bring it back
John, just not here
for a
to-
meeting, right? Because I can't, I can tell you a lot about third grade reading guarantee, teacher evaluation, but, you know, this one, I don't know why we did this either. And I can't remember if this was something they suggested we pull.
It may
And
be a
this is,
legal
I
change
think
too,
the
I don't know.
a lot of the things in red, because I sat in on the meeting on this revision, probably was probably recommended by Neola. So, let's pull that
Okay,
one.
so how do we table this, Michael?
You need a motion to table, you're just tabling all or just the one policy?
Just the one right now.
Motion to table policy 2431.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Ms. Rec-Row?
Michelle Hayes,
Yes?
Rex Ryder,
Yes?
Kelly Tromba,
Yes.
Jacqueline Asbill,
Yes.
Jay Fabian,
Yes,
vote is 5-0.
And we can vote on the rest of it, or?
if,
And I will tell you that this will not be the first time you will see revisions of some of these policies.
my request, when I was reading through the thing, we need to have a clean copy,
Okay,
number one,
I will
of
mention
what our
that.
present policy is.
Well, some of these are brand new, right?
Well, I know that, okay, well,
All right.
we need to have, whatever we passed in the past, just, because we just have got brand new policies, have a total clean copy out there, so even if we bring it up, it needs to be clean.
Okay.
And then when you do make changes, then you can very clearly see what was changed this time around versus the options that we had. There, you go through here and there's X here and this is blank there. That should be out. I'm looking at this particular page. It was Xed here, so we're including that language, but this one is not Xed, so therefore that's not part of our policy. Well, that should be out of there then.
Correct.
So
Okay,
you wanna
we will
see what
make
it
sure.
looked like and what it's gonna look like?
No. When we're passing a policy,
Right,
I wanna see this,
Right.
correct. But we need to have a
The
total
current
clean
one.
one, the current one,
Policy, right.
okay? And then, if you're recommending some changes, go ahead and make the changes on here to show us
Because
the
you
red
know-
and the blue or the Xed out or not.
You
But
just
it's of
wanna-
our present policy, not of all the recommendations that the options that we had prior to passing it in the first place. Okay,
No,
I mean,
I
I'm
agree.
looking at, what did they change this time around versus last time?
We will make sure that that is done
I'm
for the next
going
one.
like,
Um,
I'm blank.
So I
Well, it
will
is
tell you,
online.
for things like the third grade reading guarantee, we have to adopt the policy and have it in place
Yeah.
for July 1.
Yeah.
But they've already, since since we met to talk about the changes with Neola, the state passed a new bill and they're gonna recommend more changes to the policy probably come August. Teacher evaluation will be a work in progress.
Sure.
Mhm.
so for now, we'll get our present policy and then we'll get the
Right.
changes.
Correct.
And I will make a motion for, the non-tabled ones.
We haven't done that yet? Have we we made a motion for the,
She just did. She
Okay.
seconded.
all right,
Julie,
I got you,
second.
that was all pre-discussion. Wow. Now, if we have any other discussion? Good. Mr. Becquerel?
Michelle Hayes,
Yes?
Rex Reiger,
Yes.
Kelly Tromba,
Yes.
Jacqueline Asbill,
Yes.
Jay Fabian.
Yes.
Vote is 5-0.
So technically, we should always have the motion and second before we have discussion, is that
I
correct?
think because we took the vote to table it, we
Right.
kinda got off track with that.
We approved the agenda, and what she was doing is correcting the agenda before we actually made the motion.
Gotcha. Consent calendar,
All right, we have numerous items under the consent calendar tonight. The board is, we're asking you for your approval on the following agreements, contracts, to approve $1,000 stipend for Dean Wad for Project Lead the Way training, June 27th to 28th. Fund Source Title I, to approve the agreement between the Madison Local School District and the Creative Learning Workshop to provide services to students with developmental disabilities from June 17th to July 29th. To approve tuition, transportation, occupational therapy, and speech therapy contracts between the Madison Local School District and Re-Education Services for the 2013-2014 school year for education of severe emotionally disturbed children. To enter into a contract with Darlene Campbell to teach ceramics at Latchkey at a cost of $2,340. To approve the participation in the Jefferson County ESE Virtual Learning Academy, providing internet-based alternative education options for students in grades 9 to 12 under the terms and conditions as found on file on the board office. To approve the inter-district service agreement between the Madison Local Schools and the Lake County Educational Service Center for the 2013-2014 school year. To approve the following contracts between Madison Local School District and agencies listed below to provide extended school year services for 2013 summer. This would include tuition, transportation, and nursing, New Avenues, Riyadh Monarch, Hogan Transportation, Around the Clock Healthcare, Creative Learning Workshop, Lake County Personnel, STARS, Elite Fleet Transportation, Stephanie Evanoff, and Integrations Treatment Center, at the dollar amounts listed within the motion. To enter into an agreement with the Madison Township Police Department and the Madison Township trustees to provide school resource officers to Madison High School, Madison Middle School, North Elementary, and South Elementary at a cost not to exceed $80,000. This service will provide an officer on duty for 6 hours per day at each of the schools for the 2013-2014 school year. And to approve the settlement agreement between the Madison Board of Education and the parents of a special needs student, and provide the superintendent and treasurer authorization to carry out specific terms of agreement. And it's been the one that we've approved in previous years.
So
need a
moved.
motion?
I'll second.
Comments, question, discussion? I'm very excited that we're gonna have a resource office in every building. To me, that is paramount, and just providing the, we know that's not a guarantee that nothing will happen, but at least we'll have a police officer there, and I think that is a big deterrent. My only question is 6 hours a day, is that, how's that gonna work? I mean, how long is our school day? Cause you know, in the morning,
3 or
that's
4.
kind of important, and kind of when they're dismissed, and lunchtime, and, you know, we look at, have a little more, definition of that later on.
Or is that flexible? If you leave it at 6, it'll be flexible. Is it? Is it?
I don't know.
That's
I
probably
don't
the
know how
agreement that you have to look
right.
at.
And, you know, I'm not sure how that works
We
right
should
now.
check into that when Roger comes back.
We'll get more definitive.
All right.
I think we wanted to get this in place so they can get their staffing set, and
Good.
we'll define the terms and all of those things once we get everybody on board.
If we need more hours, I'm all for it, whatever it takes, you know. That's budget considering.
Thank you.
I'm being too nice to you now, Mr. Fabian, I gotta back off.
Careful now.
Any other comments? Mr. Becquerel?
Rex Reiger.
Yes.
Kelly Tromba.
Yes.
Jacqueline Asbill,
Yes.
Jay Fabian.
Yes.
Michelle Hayes.
Yes?
Vote is 5-0.